so I just finally watched Scream 6 because it's available on Peacock, not Peacock, the other one with a P, Paramount. Alright. And I have successfully avoided all but one spoiler. Okay. Well, technically, too, I knew there was an after credit scene, which depending on that we'll get to. But the spoiler I avoided was the identity of one of the Ghostface killers. Well, no, the spoiler I had was the identity of one of the Ghostface killers. Now, since there's a whopping technically five Ghostface killers in this movie, it's gonna be a big deal, right? Wrong. But I'll get into that in the spoiler section, alright? Non-spoilers, because I absolutely need to speak spoilers on this movie. My non-spoiler review. Buried in Scream 5. Alright, the third act was confusing as hell. But nowhere near as annoying as Scream 5's. Okay, like nowhere near. This was actually a pretty solid sequel for the most part. I mean, the parts that made sense, like a lot of this made no sense, and there's ridiculous amounts of plot armor. That's not things I really talk about because I can suspend my disbelief. I mean, I'm a wrestling fan. We do that all the time. My goodness, though. My goodness. I will explain that in spoilers. Wow. The returning characters. Kirby was awesome. Like, Kirby was missed, wasn't he? I love that she's back. Hayden Panettiere was fucking awesome in this movie. And still look good, too. You know, like, she's such a badass this movie. And you really only get one scene of her being a Kirby we know and love with the horror movies. But it's a good scene. It's a scene I wanted with her and Mindy. Yeah. Dale. I'm gonna be honest. There were times where I forgot she was in this movie. And then what happened when you saw her trailer, when we get to that scene, I'm just like, yeah, you know. But that's more the spoiler section. Sam was better. A lot about her I liked. A whole lot I didn't like. So I can say now, Tara was awesome. Obviously feeling what happened with the other movies. She's feeling that, going through it. To the point where she's close to making some really dumb decisions. But I'll explain that, section 2. The twins, Mindy and Chad, were awesome in this. Like, I know I'm of the 1% of people who did not like Chad before at Scream 5, thought it was boring. I didn't get how everyone was charmed or anything like that. Not this time around. He was funny, charismatic, awesome. He even fucked up a few ghost faces. It was great. And Mindy was hilarious. Like I said before, at Scream 5, she's every bit of her uncle. This time around, they really doubled down, like to the point where I'm like, wait, hold on. This looks familiar, and I don't like it. And then they pointed that out, too. Like, she pointed that out to Kirby, and Kirby's like, oh, stay frosty. Like, and then the end credit scene, which I'll get to another, but yeah, Mindy was easily the MVP of this movie. She was. Roger L. Jackson as Ghostface. I love when he has fun doing this. My goodness. The phone calls were fantastic. Every single one. They were amazing. Okay, not every single one. There's just one in the third act. Again. But yeah, he was awesome. Whoever Stuntman was awesome. I assume it was the same dude they've had since the first movie. He did it for 1, 2, 4, I believe 5. Now this one. Yeah. 3 was Chris Duran. But yeah, speaking of 3, continuity. Love the continuity, the references. You saw the trailer. Oh, man. Yes. Love the references so much. The new characters. I'll be honest with you. Minnie's girlfriend seemed nice. She did. That's all I can tell you about her. Quinn. I will get to Quinn in the dude with the fucking hair. I'll get to that motherfucker. Dermot Mulroney. I'll get to him too. Uh, the other older dude from She-Hulk. He was awesome. He was really just like a She-Hulk. He was awesome. Yeah. Okay. Now spoilers. 5.5 minutes. Hell yeah. Spoilers. Okay, so let's start with. Woo, they call them the fucking core four. Let's start with them. Let's start with the twins. I'll work my way up to Sam. The twins, like I said, Mindy was hilarious. She was awesome. She was the MVP of this movie. She was, like I said, every bit of her uncle, right? To the point there's a scene, right? Just like in Scream 2, they're in a truck trying to lure out Ghostface. And I'm sitting there like, this looks familiar, and I don't want it to be this, because I like Mindy. Even Mindy points it out to Kirby, who's trying to, like, the FBI shit. And she's like, oh, stay frosty. Really? Like, the way Mindy points it out, it's like, you like Randy? You go out there, be a distraction, stab, no more Randy? She's like, that's, yeah. And then she did there were certain rules thing again. I love that. In the end credit scene was hilarious and clever. Watch it just Mindy, she's like, not all movies need an end credit scene. That's literally it. But Mindy, as you saw in the trailer, there's hardly a spoiler, is stabbed quite badly. Number of times, like in her stomach, right? And the knife is twisted and raised up about 5 or 6 inches. Okay. And dude with the hair, whose name I can't fucking remember. He takes her off the bus. He's like, somebody help. And she can barely get up. She can barely speak. She blacks out. You don't see her ass again until the end of the third act. She literally runs into frame. It's like, oh, don't worry, I'm fine. There's a dance. It's like, I missed it again? Fuck. I mean, that's funny, but it defies all logic, don't it? You barely can stand after that, and she's running in the frame and doing it. No. The plot armor in this movie is insane. Again, I just spent a lot as a wrestling fan, as a movie fan. I get it, especially in horror movies. Hell, I love Die Hard, and I've seen John McCain eat bullets and keep going. Just, yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker, and keep going. Like, but Scream has always been grounded so much in reality. A shit like this shouldn't be possible, and it consistently happens throughout the movie, especially with the fucking core four. Alright, like her brother Chad, and in the third act, he's fucking up Ghostface after Ghostface, but they two of them get him down, and they just start stabbing his up. They cut him up like ham, okay? They slice his ass the fuck up, they do. And this time around, I actually like Chad. I'm like, oh, damn, right? At the end, after everything's done, after everything's done, and Tara, she just breaks down, starts crying, and Sam's like, what? She's like, Chad. Then you hear, grab another one. I'm like, get the fuck, no. And you see Chad, and he throws up the 4, like he's in the fucking 4 Horsemen or something. I'm like, no way. I don't care if he's an athlete. Not a chance. No. And she takes off the oxygen and kisses him, and as someone who's had to be on oxygen, like a lot, because I too, do I have it over here? Fuck, it's not over here, it should be. I too have asthma, I have inhalers and all that. I know for a fact if you take that mask off, they would be like, put it back on, breathe. So there's no way she'll be able to just do that. Like, no. One of those masks would have said something. Like, no. And then Gale. I love that Gale is kind of heel Gale again from the first 2 movies, right? And Sam and Tara don't like her because she wrote another book, because it worked out so well last time for her. And they go to punch her. It's a good scene. They go to punch her. She died. It was like, been there, done that, honey. But then Tara gets her, and she's like, "Oh, you still mad?" Like, hell yeah, you wrote a book. You said you wouldn't write a book. And she quotes it just like Dewey does his second movie. And they're like, would Dewey like this? And it's like, no, he wouldn't. Right? So the scene you saw in the trailer with Gale, it's a beautiful scene. It really is. And the dude you saw get like just thrown through the bookcase, whatever, is apparently her boyfriend or fuck buddy, whatever you want to call him. Yeah. Big, strong black dude. Girl likes black dudes, confirmed. Yeah. And Ghostface throws his ass through there. And we know for a fact that's a lady killer. We're getting to that. And just like with Dewey, people are like, that don't make sense. But in this scene, Gail, quite literally, hurled Ghostface across the room. This is after she was stabbed a lot of times, alright? A lot. And like Gail, she's been shot in the stomach twice, and I was stabbed in the stomach a bunch. And you saw her, like, it was a smart scene at the start, right? She runs to a closet, has the gun pointed at the door, it's the only way in. She empties a few bullets. She's on the phone and everything. But then she leaves for whatever reason. And she doesn't just leave. She goes straight to where Ghostface is at, like, but she finds this other closet, whatever. I'm like, he's in there, isn't he? And she shoots at it. And Ghostface tries to play like you left. She's like, you ain't leave. And she shoots at it. I'm like, he's in there. She opens it up, and sure enough, his ass is in there. And he attacks her, stabs her again. She knocks the knife out of his hand. Right? It's across the fucking room at this point. It is. And she's reaching for it. Like, not like, she manages to fight him off for a bit. She somehow gets the knife. I would have put a maximum effect on right there, but she instead tries to run. I don't know, but she winds up fighting him off and on the ground. Knife is way the fuck over here. And you think she has him. Multiple times this happens. You think she has him. Out of nowhere, a shard of glass right in her stomach, deep in there. And that's when everybody else shows up. It's just like, tell Sydney, he didn't get me. He didn't get me. Then she blacks out. Quite honestly, would have been a great scene to say goodbye to Gail. Again, when that happened, I was just like, I mean, it helped they made her heal again, but as much as I do like Gail, of the Trinity, she's the weakest. Like, Dewey was the heart. Sydney is the strength. She's the life force, right? Gail is support. I mean, I like her, I do. I'm glad in the end they're like, oh, Gail survived. I'm like, okay, but I mean, all those wounds, and like that was again would have been a beautiful scene to say goodbye to Gail, right? But yeah, and then there's Tara. Once again, General Ortega's awesome. Surprise, surprise. Yeah. So like I said, she always makes a dumbass decision. Like at the beginning, like, oh, that's the other Ghostface. She knows one of the Ghostfaces. Well, she knows all of them, but she knows the first Ghostface you see. Like I said, there's 5 of them. And the first Ghostface you see in the opening, a lot of people got it right. He went after Samara Weaving. All right, she's a professor, and apparently she gave him a C. Totally solid. It's a dumb reason to murder somebody over a C in a Giallo class, no less. Like, I'm a horror fan since the mid '90s. I would probably get a C in that class too, because y'all movies are fucking different. They're like, I wasn't mad at no C for me, you know. That's why he murdered her. He like lured her ass out too all the way to the alley and stabbed her a lot. It's quite violent. And Samara Weaving, she got a pipe, so it was loud. And then he unmasked right there and there at the beginning, and it's fucking Flash Thompson from the current Spider-Man movies. Finally, I can say I like this dude, because him as Flash, that's a fucking joke. I feel like I could whoop his ass. Flash is a big dude who you believe can whoop Spidey, Peter. Not his Flash, but in this movie, shit. And he was funny too. I mean, he lured her out there, so he had some kind of charisma to him. When he unmasked, he goes back to his apartment and he's talking to his partner, or so he thought. But over the refrigerator, there's his partner, another Ghostface, cut up in pieces, just crammed in there. And the actual Ghostface shows up and like murders him after talking to him on the phone. Sort of like the ending to the TV series, where Kieran's in jail and he gets a phone call and it's like, who told you could wear my mask? Fade to black. Sort of like that. Like, yeah. Yeah. And it's a further expectations. That's fantastic. Okay. But in that beginning, he walks past Tara. They know each other. Like, he was fully going to be at this party she's at, because he and his partner were going to murder her and Sam. but other Ghostface had other ideas. So yeah, and so Sam Tara's at this party talking to this creep ass dude who's giving off every single red flag you can give off. And surprise, surprise, he was going to date rape her. I mean, he started handling her badly. She was like, no, it's okay, it's okay. She was obviously drunk as fuck, so it wasn't okay in any way, shape, or form. And Sam shows up, tases his balls. As an older brother myself, if I saw somebody even looking at my sister like this dude did, I would do the same thing. He gave off every single bad vibe, alright? People had never to get upset. What? Like, no, do you have siblings? Shit. Especially a sister? Like, no. And I like how Sam was unapologetic, at least for that, but but yeah. So that is because what happened before is affecting Tara, but she wants to move on. Sam's doesn't. She's like hovering over her. That's the whole thing, letting her go. I gotta speak more of that, pinning that. But yeah, and Tara, she gets roughed up again. I don't think it's as bad as before, but she gets stabbed a few times, one in the shoulder, like actually a few times in the back area, and still walking around somehow. As somebody with all kinds of back pain for all kinds of reason. How? Like, still. A lot of the time I can't stand on my full eye because of my back, but wow. And then, like, yeah, but like in the third act, like, with her murdering the ghost faces, like, Jenna Ortega gets this look that Wednesday Addams look in her eyes, but then she does this smile as she's murdering one. I'm like, not you two. But okay. Sam. No, that's right. No, there's more. Dermot Mulroney. No, fuck that. No. Quinn. No, fuck that. The dude with the hair. Let's talk about the dude with the hair whose name I can't remember, who they immediately said was Ghostface. Like, literally, the character was like, back the fuck up, you're Ghostface. He's like, what? I was an econ. What's he got? What? It turns out, yeah, he's Ghostface. It was way more obvious than Billy Loomis. I was like, it can't be this obvious. This franchise too? No way. Way. Definitely way. Like, okay. When he unmasked, and then Quinn sees who I knew about going in. Like, I remember I was on YouTube, minding my own, and I see a video of a girl with red hair. It says Screen 6, Ghostface. I turned my head so quick. I didn't study it. I tried so hard not to memorize it. How was I supposed to know there's only one girl with red hair in this whole damn movie? How was I supposed to know? So I instantly knew she was Ghostface, but that wouldn't have even if I didn't accidentally find out, they did literally nothing to hide it. Like, everything about her screamed, I'm fucking Ghostface. In fact, she did everything but shout that phrase. I mean, the way she talked, the way she acted, the way she even moved. Especially when around Sam or Tara, it was blatantly obvious that she was Ghostface. I was just watching Eric Reacts, his reaction to it. Even he was like, when you're unmasking him, even he was like, that's Quinn. Even tried to pull up a stupid fake out. He's like, no, it's Quinn. I'm like, yeah, it is. And I like Quinn actually better than our previous female killer. Literally no one likes. Alright. But yeah. And the other ones I actually saw too. Like, the scene I saw in the trailer with the Ghostface Museum, where Kirby's like, how the hell they have all this stuff? And Dermot Mulroney, who's a cop, he's like, cops love money. And out loud I said, or Ghostface is a cop. Apparently Ghostface is a cop. He's Dermot Mulroney. And there were hints. I was like, that was all I needed right there. And there's a weird phone call that I don't know who the fuck it's for. Between Quinn and her dad. She's like, well, my friend said you're a cop. But she's saying it. Oh, excuse me. But she's saying it real low and real weird. And I don't know what, because they're all in the apartment in the next room. And she's saying it like, they're my friends, you're a cop, can you help us out? and Ghostface is standing over. She's fucking Ghostface. He's fucking Ghostface. Who is this for? The dude across the hall, the dude across the street from She-Hulk, because he sees that, he tries to get everybody's attention, and then this is how I knew it was her. Besides what I just said, they try to pull a Roman Bridger, right? He tried to get everybody's attention. It cuts to them in the other room. It cuts back. She's cut the fuck up. Not in this franchise. If it's off screen, it don't count. It's like with Roman. So yeah. And because her dad's a cop, he able to swap it out with some other woman, some random woman. And yeah. And some have criticized Dermot Mulroney for his portrayal, the way he delivers of it. I thought it was hilarious most of the time, but I get it. Especially at the end when he wasn't quoting Stumacher, which I'll pin in that. Like, I read a comment on Letterboxd that says, Ghostface has too many dick riders. I agree, especially Billy and Stu. I agree. So far, every single one has mentioned or quoted Billy and Stu. And Dermot Mulroney has been hands down the best at it. And he wasn't even really all that good. It was like he just, when he snapped, it was like, oh, it's better than before. It's better than Roman. Okay. Yeah. That was a giveaway. Like, easy giveaway. Like, not since, like, I haven't been as disappointed since the previous movie. Like, when they were in Max, I out loud, like JR, good old JR Jim Ross, I said, son of a bitch, because I was so disappointed that I got all three right. And I didn't want to. Because I didn't know what to do with it. They had to be obvious. And the other two, well, I do have a quote before that, but like, I didn't want to be this right. In these movies, it's about who's under the mask. It's supposed to be a surprise. I got all three. What I did not get was their dumbass motive. I'm still confused on that one. I mean, at least it's not as annoying and weak as Scream 5's motive. Again, fucking, but still, it made no kind of sense whatsoever. Their motive, best I could make it, is that these three motherfuckers are related to the wackest, the weakest, the most bitch made, the second most annoying, only behind Amber killer, Richie from Scream 5. Turns out Dermot Mulroney is his father, Quinn's his sister, Dude with the hair is his brother. They want revenge. You get it? It all ends in the theater too. Does this all sound familiar? It's Scream 2. Almost like they're doing what Halloween did. Halloween 2018 was a requel of Halloween. Halloween Kills is the original Halloween 2. Scream 5, Cream, whatever the fuck you want to call it. That's the first Scream. Scream 6 is Scream 2. You know, yeah, and I know Scream's heavily inspired by Halloween, but damn. Okay? Damn, we already have enough copycats of Halloween 2018. But yes, it's all in the theater, pissed off parent. Except this time around, I actually saw the other killers coming. Debbie Salt is so forgettable. I do forget I see the killer sometimes when I watch that movie again, Scream 2. Unlike Debbie Salt, Mrs. Lewis was, by the way, this movie answers a long-standing question: what the hell is her first name? Nancy, as in Nancy Loomis. She's a big name in horror, isn't she? Hold on, let me double check. Pretty sure Nancy Loomis is a big name in horror. Yeah, that's what I thought. She's Annie Brackett from Halloween, the original Halloween 2, and she was in Halloween 3. Yeah, big name in horror. So that's pretty cool. That's her name. And she's named after a Halloween character, because again, this franchise is heavily inspired by Halloween. So it's revealed. Miss Lewis' name's Nancy. Speaking of Nancy, as much as I did love Mindy in this movie, when she's doing the whole, there are certain rules speech, like as per usual, So he proceeds to name off a bunch of final girls and survivors that came back and survived their respective sequels and requels, except she names uh, Ellen Ripley, who got murdered in Alien 3, yes, but then came back in the Alien Resurrection. She then names Jigsaw, who, yes, came back in Jigsaw, but that movie was a sequel and a prequel, and he's in the prequel parts, but literally, it's about to be a new Saw movie with John Kramer's back. I don't know how. So, I can't really blame that one. She names Nancy. I guess you can argue that one. Because Heather Langenkamp came back for New Nightmare, did she not? And then there's that famous, infamous, eerie line from Wes Craven himself. Looks like it has to be Nancy one last time. And everything changes back to their characters with Elm Street. And the biggest flub, she mentions Laurie Strode, who, yes, got murdered twice in the franchise. Both times were a joke. But she made a hell of a comeback in 2018, did she not? And she's fine now. The whole theme was even the main characters can be murdered off, just like in Scream 3. This means you said was basically that moment. That's why she named them off, and it's like most of them actually survived just fine. They even came back with being murdered. What are you talking about? Like in this movie, like beating that horse. Even main characters can get murdered off. No, the core four are just fine. Remarkably so. So I don't. And Gail's fine, and fucking Kirby's fine. I don't know. Speaking of Kirby, so they try to do they try to throw you off towards the end, even though you know who the fuck Ghostface is. All of them by this point, they're trying to throw you off. Dermot Mulroney calls Sam and is like, "It's Kirby. She snapped. Ever since Ghostface came back, she got fired from the FBI 2 years ago. Whatever." And out loud, I said, "Bullshit. That is bullshit." And I was right. And then when they're being revealed as Quinn's being unmasked, for some ridiculous reason, Tara says, "Mindy?" I'm like, "Get the fuck? No, it's not Mindy." What? I gotta admit, when they found out it was Dermot Mulroney, he had the best response. Like, "Is it you?" "It's me." "Fuck yeah, it's me. I'm Ghostface. What are you?" I thought that was funny. Okay, I did. Like, fucking obviously, because yeah, obviously it was him. Okay. Richie, that's where I was at before. Why is it centered around the wackest, the weakest, just the most bitch made, the most useless of all Scream killers? The second most annoying under Amber. Why is it centered around him? He has like 2 fans out there somewhere. And you couldn't be Amber because nobody likes Amber. But Richie, of all that, you know damn well what could we want to come back, and you teased it in this movie. But no, Richie is the character that everything's centered around. What the fuck? No. If you were doing that, why not have fun with it and bring in his father, Dennis Quaid? I believe, not Dennis Quaid, Randy Quaid. I believe Dennis Quaid has a daughter who's an actress, correct? Bring the whole fucking, have fun with it. That's what they're doing. But no. Richie, get out of here. And again, this is all extremely derivative of most of this franchise, really, including the TV series. So it's nothing new. Somebody's a bitch in the past killer who's related to. You've seen it so many times, just in this franchise alone, but in other franchises, whatever. Still not as weak as Richie's motive. Amber's motive, like, nowhere near as weak, you know? Yeah, yeah. Is that all I wanted to get? No, it's not. Alright. Stu Macher, alright? The people that made this said Stu Macher got murdered, okay? Yet in this movie, when they're showing all the killers and when they got murdered, the extra Stu's it says 1996 ? And they show the TV and everything, and Kirby's like, "That's the TV that kills Stu Macher." If you actually believe that, like, she's FBI, so maybe that means something. And of course, the Scream 5 Easter egg, and on the side of the screen, when Richie's on the tablet or whatever, you see interview with the real Stu Macher. It's like under that interview with Kirby, which turned out to actually be true. So, yeah. And of course, I understand they're making changes to the whole Dewey scene and possibly the whole Gale scene in this movie. I mean, I've heard some pretty interesting theories that Stu might want another side of Gale and Dewey. You know, I mean, Matthew Lillard even said it'd be great to revisit a role you started as a boy. But he even said it'd be great to revisit a role as a man that you started as a boy. He wants to come back. And you teased him heavily throughout this. I'm just saying. It was already there. Fans basically wrote the script. Why Richie? I mean, if it leaks somewhere in Scream 7, fine. But yeah. And then Billy Loomis is back again. And Sam said, Sam, my biggest disappointment with this whole damn movie. She is less reserved and less boring in this movie for sure. But it's only when she's murdering somebody that she gets that look in her eyes. We see what this actress can actually do. And I'm thinking, like, maybe that's on purpose, right? Because she's talking to a therapist and she's like, it felt right murdering Richie, right? That's her whole thing. Right up to the end of the movie, like the final fucking scene where everything's done and she's holding it back with her dad's mask in it, Billy Loomis' mask in there. And she picks it up and looks at it, but then Tara calls her and she discards it. And before this, in the big fucking weird ass third act, let me back up a bit. When they first find this museum, that's when you see Billy Loomis come back to hallucinations again, right? And he's trying to get to put the suit on and use his old knife, which, by the way, somehow is still bloody and still wet. 20-some years later, I don't know. But yeah, so he tries to get her to put his whole shit on and murder again. She's like, no, but then you see this look in her eyes. Then, in the third act, she puts it on to murder Dermot Mulroney, who, again, I think it's kind of funny. But she calls him, what's your favorite scary movie? She's like, what the fuck, my favorite scary movie? What are you talking about? And then she just murders him. Like, and she finally took us 20-some years, 6 movies for somebody to just go for the head one time. Pow. You know? And when she's murdering the fuck out of who was it? I think his son, right? Like, she's stabbing the shit out of him like she did Richie, and she's about to finish him, but then Tara shows up, and so she like backs down, but then Tara gives her a look like, oh, don't be embarrassed, finish him. And it's just like, well, you fuck with my family, gets him in the eye, like, damn. Right? Like I said, Tara kind of had that look in her eyes when she was murdering her other Ghostface. You got Sam would have been building up, you know, like Speed doing this. I don't like that at all because it's not genetic. Yes, her father was a murderer. Yes, her grandmother, her father's mother, was a murderer. Don't mean she is, okay? I find it ridiculous. Like, none of that is how that works at all. Not her psychological issues, not murder being in her blood or whatever. Like, Bill Loomis actually said that. Like, none of that is how that works at all. I don't like it. Alright, oh, and there's a character named Jason, or on the subject. That's the name of Flash from Spider-Man. His Ghostface, Jason. And after he murders Samara Weaving, he goes to his apartment and he watches Jason take Manhattan because they had to. They had to. Right? And Jason, yes, he's a murderer. His mother was a murderer. His father is a motherfucker. Fuck him. But Jason's a murderer, not because it's in his DNA. Actually, I don't know why Jason does what he does. He's officially a Deadite. I don't know. But it's not because it's in his blood. I know that much. Alright, back when they were related, Michael Myers is a murderer. Laurie Strode is not. In most continuities, okay? The continuity where they're not related, and that applies with the other ones where they are not murderers. Even Laurie's daughter, not a murderer. Her son, not a murderer. It's not genetic. Alright? Freddy's daughter, not a murderer. Although there was a bit of something in her eyes which he murdered him, but that's different. I could continue this, alright? I could. Hell, half these characters are legacy characters. Stu's nephew's a dick, but he's not a murderer, right? From Scream 5. That's just bullshit. It's not genetic, alright? I don't like that at all. And that's one thing I knew, like, because I was watching a video by Evelyn Darr, and she was like, I won't say, because the killer got, like, spoiled, one of them did, and she's like, I won't say who it is, but then the whole screen filled up with a search bar with Sam Carpenter, Ghostface, question mark. I'm like, okay. But to an extent, that was kind of right. So, we see, puts on her dad's outfit, uses his knife to finish off that. I can see how that's cool, but they're building so hard that she is becoming a killer, and I don't like it because it makes no sense. None. Is this all I want to talk about? The red right hand's in there again. Good. Dewey's theme is in there during the Gale scene, which until that played again, I was just sitting there like, yup. And Dewey's theme hit. I'm like, oh, and they showed his picture and everything. That was over. It's back to Gale, and I'm like, yup. I love Gale, but she was quite honestly not all that missed when she wasn't on screen. And Sydney, everybody was all pissed off. The movie was fine without her in it. She's mentioned she got her family somewhere safe and sent her love, which I thought was hilarious. But I mean, yeah, it was fine without her. Really, this franchise, it was alright. It's doing okay without the Trinity. And I'm a nostalgia mark. So yeah, all this, I said all this stuff, and this movie's actually not too bad, minus all the shit I just said. Way less annoying than Scream 5. The third act, for all the nonsense that makes no sense, is still better than Scream 5's third act. Yeah. I'd rather be confused and pissed off, but that's just me. Yeah, this is yeah. I do a ranking. So yeah. Yeah, that's all I have to say about Scream 6, I think. Spoilers and all. Thank you for watching.